Hello everyone, Oliver from Scholarcy here. In this video, I'm going to run through a couple of different techniques that you can use to source new literature and how you can use Scholarcy alongside them to make your life a bit easier. I'm going to start with finding a browser that can be used to retrieve academic articles. I have opted for Google Scholar because it should have every single academic article. If you're more medical minded, you can go to PubMed or any of the other browsers that could be used. I'm going to start by pasting in my search query. So what I've got here is muscle hypertrophy and high protein diet combined with the Boolean and. You can also use or and not depending on how complicated you want to make your search query. I'm going to click on the search button now. I'm going to refine my search by using the custom range for the dates I'd like to view. I'm going to click on since 2019 because this will give us the most up-to-date literature. What you can do now is scroll through the list of papers, reading the article titles to see if they're interesting for you. If I click on Import to Scholarcy, we'll find that this paper gets added to my Scholarcy library without me having to open it. Alternatively, I can click onto the paper and I can use the Scholarcy browser extension to start reading it. So I've now screened the paper using the Scholarcy flashcard and I've decided I'd like to save it to my library. So what I can do here is click on Save to Library and it will open up in a new tab within my protein and muscle growth library that I've got. So now you can see the two papers that we've just found through Google Scholar have been effortlessly added to my Scholarcy library. So whenever I want to, I can come back to these and give them a read. Something a lot of people do when they're reading a paper is they'll find a citation really interesting, they'll click onto it, and then they'll open the paper in a new tab. And they'll do this over and over again, 50 times a day maybe, to a series of papers that they're not even sure if they're worth reading or not. Something Scholarcy has to make this process a bit easier is the annotated bibliography. So if I want to go into reference number 13 and decide if it's even worth reading in full or not, I can find the reference in the reference list. I can click on to show findings. I can use the Scholarcy findings here to screen the paper before jumping in and reading it in a new tab and inevitably losing all of my other papers because I've got so many tabs open. Another way to source new literature is to automate your literature search. You can do this within Scholarcy by setting up an RSS feed, and now I'm going to show you how. Using PubMed, we're going to search for the same string as before. It'll take you through to the results page, where I'm going to click on Create RSS. So to do this, click on Create RSS, then copy the link. What I'm going to do now is navigate back to the Scholarcy library, where from here I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call this one RSS feed. From within here, I'm going to click on the RSS button, we'll paste in the URL. I'm going to uncheck Notify Me, otherwise I'll get an email every single time a paper is added. Click on Check RSS to determine that it is in fact live and active. And once you get that confirmation, we can click on to subscribe. And just like that, it's been set up. So we've given the RSS feed a couple of minutes to update. And already there have been 7 flashcards added to the library. That's 7 papers that we found without having to put any effort into searching for them ourselves. If I click onto the library here, to make it easier to go through and screen the papers, I'm going to sort by the year, so we get the most relevant ones, the most recent ones first. What we can do as well is we can go through, read the title, and read the headline as a quick way to screen if the paper's worth jumping into. If we decide not to read it, we can always delete the flashcard from our library. If we would like it, for example this one, you can click into it, you can give it a read, and once you know that you'd like to keep it, perhaps you can go on to Organise and move it over into a different collection. So it makes it a bit easier for you to then retrieve that later on because it's in a collection that you know these are papers that are worth coming back to and potentially citing in your report later on. So now I'm going to show you the last tip for sourcing new literature, and it's using Scholarcy's OpenAlex integration to find new papers without ever having to leave the Scholarcy library. To do this, we're going to use the search bar here, and rather than using the normal search button, we're going to use the OpenAlex integration. I'm going to start by typing in my search query, and I'm going to click onto the OpenAlex. It's now going to go through the OpenAlex database. It's going to find every paper that's closed access and open access and show them to us in this list. So the first paper is closed access, unfortunately, but the second paper down, you can see by the orange padlock, is open access. So I'm going to click onto this one, and in a moment it's going to be imported into my library. So just like that, it's been imported to my library, and it's under my protein and muscle growth folder that I've created. At my own leisure, I can scroll through and have a look at the different sections in the flashcard to decide if it's worth reading in full, or I can go back out and I can find a new paper. So by following these steps, you can easily and conveniently perform a very comprehensive literature search, all of which you can use as citations in your next report. To use these papers as citations, I recommend clicking on Move, Export and Delete, clicking on Export Documents, selecting all of the papers, and making sure that you've got RAS selected on the export type. Click on Export Selected, and once the file downloads, you can click onto that, and it will open up all of the exported citations into Zotero. So just like that, we've got all of our papers exported to our citation manager, making it much easier to then cite them in our paper later on. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comment section down below.